Here we go. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to some more painting. Today, figured I'd save these last two guys and do this on stream. Which, as you can see, this is what we have painted up of the extra so far. Now, also, I have the new microphones in, so hopefully the audio sounds pretty good. I did a little bit of testing, a tiny little bit of filtering over it, but it's mostly just straight coming from the microphone. These are significantly easier to deal with. And if you're curious, these are the Lark M2s from Hollyland. So that'll be what we use going forward, unless they're just, terrible or whatever. But based on all the reviews and stuff that I could see, they seem pretty good. And from the testing I've done, they seem pretty good. So the old microphones didn't sound terrible, but they did sound a little hollow almost. And the consistency wasn't great. So depending, like some static would creep in every so often. Only time will tell with these. So anyways, so my original game plan, which basically there were two sets of what I'm going to call the standard 4 with your UNSC weapons. I painted both those standard 4s with red and blue, but then you get two sets of these guys here, which is two fire teams with Covenant weapons that I guess are supposed to kind of be like Covenant equivalents, but I'm treating them in my head as more of like heavy weapons or something like that. I don't know. I didn't really have a good game plan. Okay. He didn't really give me, sorry, I was reading something. I didn't really have a good game plan for this. I just didn't want to paint them all red and all blue. So I just painted the standard 4 red and blue. And then I was going to paint the Covenant people, just whatever I felt like painting. We got this gray and orange. Now, these aren't completely done, the ones that aren't based, obviously, because I still have to clear coat them and then touch up some of the spots that get done after the clear coat, like most of their visors. But we've got this kind of gray and orange. We got this yellow and gray. This guy actually turned out pretty good. He's a white and with a blue visor, which I did this visor a little differently, which I thought it looked pretty good. We got teal and orange, because why not? We got tan and gray and green and gray. So there's only two left to be dealt with. And the other guys picked something each. So this guy's going to end up in some sort of purple scheme. And this guy's going to end up in some sort of black and red scheme, I guess. I just need to make it obvious enough that it feels like its own thing and not just, a duplicate red guy. Also, if you watch the Covenant things, I did forget to hit these little spots on the head, gray on the legs, and then gray in that little spot. So there's that. Now, that's not really a big deal. I didn't even bother going back and hitting it on the purple guys because it just wasn't obvious enough on the heads. I did do their thighs and their back spot thing, but I think, which before we get going, because this is semi-relevant, the game room hopefully should be back up and running by Thursday. Now, I don't know if we're going to do a tabletop Thursday this week, with it being Thanksgiving and all. It just kind of depends on the timings of things. I'm not entirely sure We might do one like on Saturday or something, just to get one out this week. But if we do, hopefully it should be back in the game room. They're going to be out tomorrow to do the carpet install, and that should be it. Then I just have to get everything back in there and set back up. So hopefully by next Thursday that'll be good to go. And we'll play some Flashpoint and try out these elites, I think. So that's the plan. Potential plan. Information, take it as you want. Anyways, I think we're going to start. We're going to start with this red black fella. Now I know I want to do his visor red. I don't know if I want to try to split his helmet the same way that I did this one. And I think I want to try... kind of want to do one of his legs entirely one color, like split him down the middle almost. Like do his left arm red, do his left leg red. That'll distinguish him quite a bit, I think. And even though I could save time on the black, I'm still going to paint it the same way that I would the armor and then do the dry brush and then paint the undersuit afterwards so it's all uniform. Because like these guys, the black undersuit's not getting dry brush. So I think that'll be our bases. The chest piece, I think, is also going to be black. If we make it red, I feel like he's going to be too predominantly red. You know what? Let's just start getting paint on this guy, and we'll figure it out as we go. Apparently, my throat is not having it today. The mixer. We got our trusty foot. This is Slaughter Red. This is the same red that I used for the red Spartans. Just looking at the reds that I have, I just like this red the best. So the other ones are a little pinky. I'll probably use this poppy red for the visor because it is a little more like pinky looking. Use a bigger brush. Oh. I'm hesitant. It's hard to split it up into panels because I could do like, you know, his feet armor and his knee pad, but I feel like that ends up like this. It looks, I don't know, it's not my favorite. So I'm going to stick to the first instinct of just splitting him down the middle. And my hands feeling extra shaky today. That'll be good. If you missed painting last week, you should go check that out. But The idea behind painting these is for it to be relatively quick and nice and painless. So we're just kind of pretty quickly and pretty sloppily speed painting all of our armor. Then we'll do some Nuln Oil, and then we'll do some dry brushing. Now, do I invert this guy? You know what? I think we're gonna kind of invert him. I think we're gonna do his knee pad, his foot armor black on this side, but we're not gonna do the red on the opposite, just so it's a little more interesting. Also, we'll say this like random cheap brush from Amazon. I like the smaller one. This medium one, I don't know why. Not a big fan. It just doesn't seem to want to hold paint as well as its smaller counterpart does. But again, we're not going for perfection here. Okay. Let's see. Go. I think we might do the cod piece red. Sure that's not too loud. If we're going to do the chest piece black, we're going to have to split the helmet, I think, just so it's a little bit more broken up. Otherwise, I think we're going to risk looking a little strange here. Start by not doing his actual shoulder piece here. Because I'm curious about something. Absolute side note. I am now a good chunk into season 2, and I've finished season 1 of Hell on Wheels. It has been pretty good so far. It is not helping my want to get a wide brim hat, though. I don't know why I want a hat, but I'm thinking about it. It's a little messy, but that's fine. I'm gonna leave that shoulder pad because I'm tempted to do it black as well, just so it's not so like split. I don't know. I think we're gonna do the actual like codpiece portion of the waist armor black, but we'll do the rest of it red. It's like Gravemind contract, Flood. Give me Gravemind vibes. Appreciate you, Jorge. Jorge? What did I just read? Saw like Rise, it disappeared. That is on me, but I appreciate you. Thank you. Now, I am not the biggest Halo lore connoisseur by any means. But I am a Halo fan. From when I was younger. I very vaguely, now I was very young, obviously. But I do remember my friend's family would go on vacation, and his dad would stay home, and I think this was Halo 1. Would have had to have been. But the dad would stay home, and my brothers and a bunch of other people would come over, and they'd rearrange the living room and move all the entertainment centers and all the giant heavy TVs and do these LAN parties and stuff, playing Halo 1 and drinking shit tons of Yoo-hoo. And I do remember that. But his dad was a big Halo 2 fan. I remember that pretty vividly also. Probably my favorite is Halo Reach, which might be a sin. Don't know. Master Chief's great and all, but there was something about Halo Reach that just hit different. And to be fair, that was also part of my, like, not bringing up, but, you know, it was kind of part of one that I got to experience more. I remember playing a lot of Halo 3, but it was like maybe just from how old I was when Halo Reach came out. I remember all that stuff a little bit more clearly, perhaps. I think I am going to split this helmet. I don't actually remember why I was talking about that. We also did finish the Halo Infinite campaign yesterday for the first time. We played through it on Heroic. Now, I don't know if it was just because of kind of the nature of how, like, the open world stuff was done. It was a little confusing to kind of keep up with what we were doing. Maybe that was just us, but it was a little confusing. But I do think this emotional kind of stuff that they did with Cortana and the weapon and kind of the resolution of all that was pretty nice. Now, we didn't play Halo 5's campaign. I think we tried. We just could not. Just didn't care about Spartan lock and all that stuff. Obviously, there was a lot of context for that story that was missing because we didn't play it, but trying to be careful here just so I get too much paint where I don't want it to go. Will do well enough. And you know what? I'm going to flip his knee pad on the other side just because looking at it, like it's going to look a little light on the red. So, might look a little silly. Who knows? And that cast, mold, sculpt, whatever definitely gets lost there on the side compared to the other side, but whatever. I think that's what we're going to go with for our split. And maybe once we get a little bit of black on this, we'll change tune here and add a little bit more red. But okay, now I need to block in the black armor as much as I want to just slather this all over everything now for the sake of saving time. Trim black. And talking about Halo media, probably also an unpopular opinion, but also let me let me back up a second. The Halo show probably deserved to be canceled, but what I will say, it does kind of suck because they just introduced the Flood, and albeit small, what's up, Sniper? The second season was a small improvement over the the first, but I was curious to see like not necessarily anything that has to do with that show, but just the Flood stuff that was gonna go on in the third season that they set up right there at the end, and the fact that we had just gotten to Halo. I don't know. I didn't expect it to be great by any means, but it's not like I was, it was costing me much of anything. I wasn't paying for the seasons of the show. I would have paid my tiny little bit just to see the train wreck, but I'll give it the same kind of mentality of that I do Star Wars: The Old Republic. The MMO, it just kind of, I think, needs to be, well, I mean, it already was, but SwitchOr just needs to be shut down to give somebody else the chance to make a Star Wars MMO, because as long as it's there, they're not going to make another one, probably. So as long as that show is around, we're never going to get another live action Halo property. So it being gone is for the best, but You'd also think, because I think Last of Us came out before the second season did, that they have an example of how something can work out when you just follow the source material, and then they still proceeded to not do that with the second season, but whatever. I really liked, and I remember kind of the build up to Halo 4. I really enjoyed the Forward Unto Dawn miniseries. They made the Covenant pretty quickly, like, accurately kind of spooky. and mysterious from like a Marine's perspective. And that shot of the like sky elevator thing getting shot down and then having bodies rain down all over the glass was super cool. And then like having a small budget and having to get creative with the shots and then being obscured by fog and all that stuff made it like tense. It was cool. Trying to do this semi quickly, but black is not going to be as easy to cover up if I get it somewhere I don't want it. But worst case, it's just going to get some dry brushing and I'll just cover it up anyway. So I guess it actually doesn't. But again, my hands feel particularly great today. Also, what's up, Wyatt? So right now we're just doing some speed paint base coating. So the red that you're seeing and the black that you're seeing is Slaughter Red and Grim Black. And then once that's done, we'll do some known oil, and then we'll just take a white and do some dry brushing. And then we're gonna hit the visor. And I think the weapon's gonna be the same black and red, if I remember correctly from what I painted this other one with. And then we're going to do a purple guy, which I think we're going to use this purple swarm color. While y'all are here, how does the audio sound? If y'all could answer me that with the new microphones, make sure that it, I mean, I don't know if it's going to sound audibly better, but as long as it sounds fine. All right, cool. Thanks. Like I said, this is the first actual thing that I've done with these since I got them. I mean, I did a little bit of test snippets just to make sure that they were good after I got them, but yeah, now that I've like once I kind of got them down to a like a science of like just a quick base coat, known oil, dry brush, hit the undersuits, paint the weapons. Most of these I just kind of picked out in a day. But I also, you know, typically I'm not really having to work a full like 8-hour shift in the day. And you know, I don't have kids or anything, so I've got quite a bit of free time. But I have a problem with just looking at unfinished stuff sitting on my desk. And I can't not look at it because it is right next to my computer desk. So if I'm, playing games or doing whatever, I'm still looking at it. So typically stuff doesn't sit around too long. Next, probably going to be, well, a local store, and I use the term local loosely because it is not close. I actually saw that they posted a picture on Facebook, and I think they got the Master Chief Fanatics paint set in. And the paint set that I want, or the acrylic paints that I want to use, are the Fanatic paints. So if I could get that paint set and get the Master Chief model, I don't know if I want to pay the money for that right now, but I'm going to look at it and I'm going to consider it if they still have it. And so Master Chief might be the next thing up on the paint desk. But after that, I've got a whole crap ton of Star Wars Shatterpoint models that I gotta get sorted at some point. That's the chest. Hard for me to see in this light. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I played my first stuff with the unpainted models because I got it on a Wednesday, and I do kind of like solo streams on Thursdays if I have something to play. So I felt it just made sense. So I didn't paint anything when I got them, and I played that first time with unpainted stuff. It's nice that they come pre-colored, but yeah, you definitely don't get the full experience in any capacity. I moved at the beginning of September, and I got the Age of Sigmar, not the Skaven Tide box, but the starter box, and it was kind of a pain to just have to leave that sitting in the box, even though I had like a month till we moved because I already had all my stuff packed up. So I feel you. But hopefully your move goes nice and smooth. Ours was pretty good. A long day, but it was pretty good. And I got a game room out of the deal that then proceeded to get half semi, I'm gonna say flooded, but again I use that loosely, and then all the drywall had to be redone and all that stuff. But hopefully tomorrow will be the end of that story. And we'll be back in the actual game room. Lightweight. I'm tempted to do that little horn on his head red. Try to do that. Dry brushing will cover up most of these crimes. don't know if you can hear her snoring down there. Okay. Against my better judgment, we're just going to try to use a tiny little bit of paint that's here. Speed paints do not like being not super fresh. And have a short shelf life, and I mean that in a palette sense. Granted, some of the colors are fine, and I don't know why that is. But some of the colors stay perfectly fine for a good long while, and then some colors, you put them in the glorious foot, and they just dry out pretty quick. We're going to let that sit for a minute before we do any normal oil over that. So, I'm content enough with what that looks like so far. And while that sits, we're going to do the same thing but with purple on the other guy and figure out what the plan is. Now, I do like the idea of a gray, which I like this gray. This gray is what this guy is base coated in. So it's kind of a dark grayish black. The next gray is a little light. And that's what this guy's gray bits are. Which, maybe in opposition to a purple, might not actually be bad. This might be a little dark. So, actually, we might go with the lighter gray. That way we get more of a tritone thing with the black, a light gray, and a purple. It's just on this tan and the grays almost ended up a little close to each other. I think, I don't know what I think. But this one's, I'm going to use gray and so this is the purple that these guys were painted with, which I don't do no oil over the weapons, but I think that is a good purple. I don't want them to be too close to my Covenant purple. Oh, this like that. But yeah, we'll go with this. And dare I just paint him similarly to how I did this one. I kind of want him mostly purple though. Start with the purple. Sorry, that is loud, apparently. Yeah, the I went through a large phase of only painting speed paints. I showed these last week because they're sitting on my desk waiting for a base refresh. So like these were all done with speed paints. This like camo-y rebel pattern. And so speed paints are contrast paints. So if you know what the contrast paints are from Citadel, they're the same thing. So Fanatics are like a normal acrylic paint that you would like base coat, do a black wash, and do like edge highlighting or something. They aren't up here anymore. But so the speed paints are supposed to be like a one coat solution, which for the most part they are. Like if you're fresh into painting, like just painting with speed paints, I think is the easiest way to progress, and it'll get you deep enough to want to learn some of the other things, which is kind of where I'm at. So I painted for, I don't know, maybe 8 months solely with speed paints once I found out about them. And I was just in a completion mindset, just getting all the things painted. But now I'm moving into like traditional acrylics and base coating, washing, trying edge highlighting, trying to do that other stuff where it makes sense for me to try to do it. So like I've got to paint this guy for Age of Sigmar. Speed paints aren't great over big flat surfaces. So like this cape, it would look really good up in these bunched up portions. But like these big flats, it gets a little splotchy. So this guy, like speed paints would look really, really good in these feathers because it's really textured and there's a lot of space for it to kind of settle and do its thing. But this guy will probably be a lot of normal acrylics. So like rocks, fur, feathers, that kind of stuff, like these watery speed paints are really easy to work with, and they give you kind of your mids, your lights, your darks all in one go. So I don't know if that's a really good explanation of what that is, but that's part of why I have these little, what's a good color example? Part of why I have these colored caps that I printed on all of these speed paints. So you can kind of see, like on that triangle, how it's lighter on the edges and darker in the middle. But in general, you could see kind of all the different colors that are in it. And that's the idea, is that it's going to purposefully settle in the recesses, pull away from edges, so you could theoretically just coat in one go and be done with it. These aren't exactly great colors to represent that, but you can kind of see like on that thigh, there's some darkness in parts of it, so it's not just a flat color. But the more you use them, you kind of you know what they're good at and what they're not good at, and kind of how to help them in some capacities. Which, like using these Spartans, yeah, I could base coat them all in red and do a wash over all of them and then try to edge highlight and stuff. But honestly, for completion's sake, it's just faster to just slobber some speed paint all over them, let it do its thing, slobber some oil over it just to get a little bit of extra, and then dry brush it. So I'm kind of accentuating the speed paint with this method, but I wanted speed and something that looked decent. And that's, I think, where I ended up without having to carefully base coat all the things. Now, the Fanatic paint line is actually the paint line that I wanted to start getting into. These are the colors that I painted the Night Owls with, which I think I did a stream of just like this, painting one of those guys. But then I also did an kind of a more focused video, and it was using these, and that was with the purpose of trying to do the base coating a wash, doing some edge highlighting, painting more traditionally. And I really like these paints, these Fanatic paints, for like traditional acrylic stuff. So I want to get more into that. I was hoping their Black Friday deals would be a little bit better, so I could maybe pick up a set of that, but I might pick up the Master Chief paint set because those are Warpaint Fanatic paints. So that is a 2-for-1 deal of getting a Master Chief model and some Fanatic paints. So I think what I'm most proud of with these so far is this energy sword. It'll doesn't want to. There we go. I didn't really have a plan for painting that energy sword, but I think it came out much better than I would have expected. And that was done in last Monday's stream. Yeah, talking about the weirdness of the purple that I ended up with and how different it looked than the other ones. After everything was said and done, they kind of all ended up looking the same. So it was partially the kind of like satiny clear coat that tied it all together, and the all the other steps, but it was looking real weird there to begin with. Last week trying to mix up a color that looked the same. Okay. Do I dare just paint this the same as this other guy? I think I'm going to paint this basically the same, but I'm not going to do the gray arm. But I think I'm just going to do everything else the same. So I'm going to have purple shins right there. These speed paints are all kind of different as far as how they actually want to interact and go onto things. And this purple, it's not one that I've ever used. So, other than painting those little plasma rifles. So hopefully gonna get this all where it belongs quickly. Okay. Hit the top of the feet. This purple might be a better example of kind of what the so the teams, I didn't want to paint them all just red and blue. So I painted kind of the traditional 4 with the UNSC weapons, like kind of what comes in the base Recon edition. I painted them red and blue. So I have 4 red and 4 blue, and then all the models that have the Covenant weapons, 4 for each team or whatever. I'm just painting those whatever, just to have some customization, some fun with that side of things. I didn't want to just paint them all red and all blue for both teams. But like you're talking about for designation, it's a little silly. I thought about trying to do, or just painting like a red stripe on like the front and the back of the base or something for their respective colors. But then at the same time, I kind of don't want to do that, because essentially for each of these Covenant weapons, there's two color schemes. So maybe I want to use the tan needler guy at some point, and maybe I want to use the purple needler guy if I'm feeling that. So I don't know. I think we're just gonna have to keep an eye on what's what. But like, we've got the 4 red and the 4 blue, and then all the Covenant weapon guys are just gonna be, whatever they're gonna be, and we'll just have to figure that out. Which is something I thought about for a while, because it's gonna kind of bug me if I run like 3 red guys and then like 1 of the Covenant weapons, that they don't all match in some way. They're not all different, or not all the same. So it's just kind of my own problem. Yeah, I like little like 3D printed rings that like they sit in. I saw that. That's not a bad idea. I don't know. I think the game's small enough that it's not going to be terribly difficult to keep track of it. Now, something like Star Wars Legion, or like a full 40K, from what I understand, with how many models you have, that might get a little more complicated. But with each person only having the four things, I don't think it'll be a big deal for me to remember that I have, the 2 reds and the purple and the green guy, or the purple and the yellow guy, or whatever. So I'm not super worried about it, but it is kind of a thing. It does kind of suck, and it's just kind of like in opposition of what it's supposed to be, because you're supposed to want to like paint them all like your own color schemes and everything, but then it kind of gets confusing. And then you want the classic, red versus blue. Gotta have some red and some blue guys. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good purple. That's a good purple. I don't like this brush, though. I'm undecided on the cod piece, cod armor stuff, so I'm gonna let that sit. Try to hit chest armor. Most of the front of this is going to be gray. think. Just gonna paint over these little cartridges and we'll just cover it up. Speed paints are also a little weird. You don't really know. They're a little finicky. Like you only got a second or so to kind of try to cover what you're trying to cover, because the second it starts setting, it doesn't really like to be touched. But then you kind of need it. Because it's so watery, it has a tendency, this is both a positive and a negative for me, to go where you don't intend. So because it's a little watery, it's a little easier to get it into some spots because it'll kind of go there on its own. But then that makes it a little bit more difficult to work with for the same reason, because you want the coat to be pretty thick. But painting something small like a leather strap, the thicker it is, you risk, it spilling over. So there's certainly a learning curve to use them. Some days do better than others. It's also a weird kind of dance of having enough on your brush but not having too much, and sometimes you go to put it on the model and you don't have enough. There's also something to be said about not wasting your time trying to paint stuff that you can't see. Something that I am bad about because I know that it's not painted. I think I am gonna paint his little shoulder guy gray. I'm gonna paint the other shoulder gray. I'm gonna leave that. Some of these sculpts get a little squishy. Some of them are definitely sharper than others, but models are a little weird sometimes. Like that hand plate over there, no detail at all. It's just like a blob on a hand. Center of this purple. The rest of it can be gray. Yeah, it's a weird arrangement of colors, but what we're doing. Go ahead and use the last little bit of this Nolan oil that I definitely didn't spill all over my desk. Brush. Now, I'm not going to bother oiling over the black. Not going to do anything for me, but oil over the red. A little bit of extra. And also be careful putting Nolan oil over these speed paints, because some of them do not play nice. Not entirely sure why that is, but like the blue that I used did not like having Nolan oil over it at all. So it's like you almost got to do it without touching any of the model. It's very weird. Red seems to be taking it fine. Maybe a little less carefree on that regard. Also, I want this to pull a ton on some of these parts. Gotta keep an eye on them. Also, these models did have a zenithal prime. So, you know, they were primed black and then had basically a white sprayed down on it from straight on top of it, just to give it more of a gradient. Something that is more useful for something like a contrast paint, because they're transparent, so you can kind of see that under it. Like these little guys over here. These are example. Be a good example. Guys are so dusty, they've been sitting there. So these are almost zenithal with like a, I'm gonna try something with these. These are like yellow. So this was black and then had a yellow, kind of had a 45 sprayed down, and then a white very lightly over the top. So like specifically on his head, he's rather white, but then the bottom of everything is still pretty black. So you put a contrast paint over that, the idea is that you see it through it, for those that don't know the speed paints. That's it. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this gray. We'll say, not a fan. I mean, I have a noise gate on this microphone, but I'm not a fan that this picks up me shaking this, but I guess I'll take some slight unwanted noise for better audio. Interested to see what it sounds like. use the big brush. This Gravelord gray is one of the more watery colors. And that shoulder is a good example of like a speed paint. So that's just one coat of paint, but you can kind of see how it's choosing to settle. Now that could also work against you and maybe not be. Can you relax? You know, that might work not in the way you want it. You could also pull it up even more to, you know, so you can do some different things. Certainly not a professional painter by any means. Doesn't help when you touch wet paint. Purple and gray. Not cooperating. You get the idea. I'll let him settle. This is mostly dry. But you can kind of see that Nolan oil kind of blackened in the recesses. Specifically of a color that's not black, which is why I didn't bother putting it on everything. I do like the satin finish that Nolan oil gives, but this will all get matte cleared anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So, our glorious makeup brush. Now, I'm doing all the Spartans with white, but like the Covenant, I dry brushed with like this light sky blue almost, even on the burgundy. I don't know, it just made it feel a little more covenant-y. But all the Spartans I did white, even this guy, which I was really kind of unsure about what this dude was going to turn out like. But honestly, that kind of white, light gray, the sky blue kind of like visor color, I really like. That worked out. Gonna over all of it. I feel like not very consistent, huh? Strange. This specifically for me, where I feel like everything kind of starts to get tied together. Now, I do kind of go overboard with this occasionally. But you know what? They're Spartans. They can be as worn and scratchy looking as they want to be. Specifically trying to pull this perpendicular to the edges that I want it to accentuate. But some of it you just can't get to because these are pre-assembled. So it is what it is. yeah, really, it is a feature. And again, sometimes you can really exaggerate that in your benefit. So like, can't really get to some of that, but I think that'll do. Now, you could obviously just leave that plain old, but so does Halo Reach anime. Is it like a fan film type of thing, or is it like a machinima, like silly short video, or what exactly is it? Now we're just gonna go back with some of this grim black and hit the suit and the black on the weapons, and pouches and stuff. Also, something I need to be a little more careful about so I don't cover up the dry brushed edges on some of this because it is rather soft. And my hand I will check that out. There's some really cool fan stuff out there for a lot of different things. Some of the coolest stuff I feel like for Star Wars is some fan-made stuff. Wish I could remember what it was called. That sculpt just disappears entirely on the back of this leg. I think it was just called Republic Commando. It was like a special forces kind of like fan film operation for the Republic Commandos. And it was pretty short, but pretty quickly they established like a really cool tone. Makes me hope that we'll get something like that one day, but especially like nowadays with like Unreal Engine and stuff like that, and people rendering out fan films and stuff like that in like these high quality visuals. Pretty good. That'd be pretty cool. Were there other, canonically anyways, I don't really know, were there any other Spartan teams on Reach Searing Reach? I don't remember. You'd have to assume that there were. But man, Reach is a setting. So good. Dang, shaky hands. Is that from the book, or did, like, in the game, I know you could see him already in stasis pre-Halo 1. How did I paint this thing? Okay. Which, to be fair, I don't really see why that still couldn't potentially fit, because you don't really see him other than right there at the end in stasis. So I know a lot of people, I'd never read the book, so I didn't have an opinion one way or the other. I know a lot of people were not happy about that book being interacted with when Reach came out. But as somebody who did not read the books, I love me some Halo Reach. I don't have any predetermined connection to the Fall of Reach as a story. I've read not a ton of things in my life. I've never have a hard time getting like pulled in to a book. I have a habit of reading, say, a paragraph, and then when I'm reading the next paragraph, I just completely forget what I just read in the previous paragraph. So, books have never really stuck super well. Never really, until semi-recently, tried reading like comics or anything like that. But I don't know why I was in a Walking Dead mood and wanted to try a comic book experience. So I read all the Walking Dead comics, which, again, considering I have a hard time like getting stuck into something, surprised that I did, but the comics were super good. Actually, I really liked the Walking Dead comics. If y'all are Walking Dead enjoyers or not, most people these days seem to not be. Yeah, my brothers are like that, so they'll go like on a book binge, and then they'll not read books for a long time, and then they're like back to back, like, hey, you should read this, hey, you should read that, hey, you should read this. I'm like, I don't know about that, but got this giant pouch on his leg. You know what? Actually, it's the only pouch that's going to be painted this color, but I feel like it's asking for it. Pouch. That gray. So it's a little bit of a different color from everything else. Actually, before I do the gun, I'm going to go ahead and hit the visor. That way I don't accidentally hit the gun while I'm trying to get to the... This is another color that I don't know if I've ever used for anything. I was hoping that that red would look slightly more neon. Which also, side note to my 700 other side notes, for doing this kind of stuff, do y'all care if you have a camera looking at me, or you just want this? I don't know. I don't know why I decided to do that last week, but I don't know. I guess it might give you something else to look at when I'm just yapping and not doing anything with my hands. Yeah, I figure I forgot to paint his hand. Go back in a second and paint his hand. I definitely don't think it hurts having the, the quote-unquote face cam. I mean, to be fair, I don't know if anybody's going to be like, yeah, I don't want to see your ugly face. I'm just here to watch you paint. So I guess it's up to you whether you look at it or not. Yeah, true. There's actually, not to get into details, but up until recently, I never really thought about it that way. That like these videos and these streams are kind of like a time capsule almost. And somebody that I know has used them a lot in that way. So it's an interesting perspective, I guess. I never really thought about it that way. Which hopefully once the game room is again, maybe holding my breath that it'll be done tomorrow and I can get it back up and running, we can get some proper 2-game or 2-player battle reports going. I don't know if one of them will want to do it on stream just because he doesn't play tabletop games, but this kind of caught his attention. So that might be kind of interesting. But I don't know if he'll want to do it on stream. That's up to him. But the other one, he'll do it on stream. He's the one that I play Legion and stuff with, so certainly get some of this on stream. I actually sometimes I will take, just get some more. Sometimes I'll take a tiny little bit of the speed paint and a tiny little bit of white normal paint, just so I have the same shade. They don't mix like super well because they're not the same consistencies. But sometimes a little bit, this might be almost too light. I feel like I wanted a little bit more oomph on that visor than that speed paint gave me. But like this green on this speed paint, like that's just one coat of just speed paint, and it gave me kind of exactly the effect. It ended up rather white right there in the middle, which is perfect. This guy didn't quite split like that, so just went back and put a little tiny bit of a mixed up pinkish hue. I think that is this guy more or less done. Now he is indeed black and red like he wanted, but he doesn't look anything like these fellas. Yeah, that's part of why, depending on the weapons, so like these guys got a very light gray base coat and then a Nuln Oil over them. just to darken them more. But most of the weapons I'm leaving as is. Like this is just straight purple with nothing over top of it. Same thing with these stalker rifles. I just thought they didn't need anything else. But then also, the red that's on that gun is the same red that was applied to the armor. You can kind of tell how different they are with the like the dry brushing and the Nolan oil and stuff over it. So I wanted them to be different, even though I knew I was using the same red. I will say I was very hesitant when we started this guy, but I am pretty happy with that. Oh, I forgot to paint his feet. Stopped at his knees. We're not done with this guy. Although, before I paint that guy's feet, let's go ahead and get this Nolan oil over this guy so he can drying. Or this guy is gonna get Nolan oil all over. And also, I appreciate compliment. I almost tend to like tune them out. I don't take compliments super well, it would seem, especially doing stuff like this because there's so much good like photo reel quality stuff out there, and I always am trying to learn and improve and get better. But you know, seems like every day of the week you paint something that you're happy with, and then you open up anything anywhere and there's something that looks fantastic like right in your face. Comparison's the thief of joy or something like that. I don't know. So I am reading them and I do appreciate it, even if I don't directly acknowledge that part of it. soak up some of this excess. You know, it's funny, actually. I was looking, I think it was Imperial Assault. I don't know what that is, but I wanted a Rancor for Legion. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just get an STL and print it. Come to find out, there was a Rancor for Imperial Assault that, you know, probably would have approximately been close enough for me to call good. But I can't find it, so I guess they just, like, not super common of a thing to be able to find. I don't know. I don't really even know what it is, to be honest. And I think part of that just comes from, like, I'm never happy with anything except for this energy sword. Talk about this. But it's like, I always paint, and again, I'm really bad about that kind of stuff. I'll paint something and be like, I'm really happy with that. And then, like, I'll just be scrolling through, like, the Reddit for any given game, and I'm like, oh. Now I'm all of a sudden not as happy with it as I thought I was. Now, some things I do paint that I think are objectively good looking, but in a general sense, I have a hard time, actually. Since these fellas are just sitting over here talking about something that I was satisfied with. That's a good example. With these commandos and their visors specifically, coloring that actually ended up in them, I was very happy with. And still, to this day, very happy with them. So there are some things I think that I'm just like, yeah, those are good. But well, nothing about what you just said sounds cheap. So yeah, thankfully the honestly it's the same with these. The kind of like shading around their feet just comes from a kind of intentional overspray with the airbrush. Now I think the Commandos obviously was a little bit more than an overspray. That was a little more intentional. But after using the texture paint, or the technical paint, that might have been one of the Citadel technical paints. God, these have been sitting forever too. But yeah, after the base color goes on, just kind of airbrushing up their legs intentionally. Anyways, what the hell was I doing? Yeah, I gotta paint his feet. Well, specifically the feet and the ankles. Which, to be fair, with the Nuln Oil and the colors that I used, you probably would never notice it, but I noticed it. So what is Imperial Assault? Is it more like a board game with minis? Like a... I don't know what it is. Or is it a war game? There's definitely miniatures. Now I've seen, once I found that rabbit hole, I kind of went down a path of looking at them, but I don't know what it is. I didn't look that deep into it. Still drying. What was that? Soka, come here. Yeah, y'all can. Ahsoka. Oh, we're sitting here waiting for that to dry. The breath stinks. Can. That actually sounds pretty good. Do they still make stuff for it, or is it like a discontinued older thing you just gotta find like aftermarket? Dude. Stop snorting. Get out. I probably won't paint this needler on stream because, to be honest, I just don't feel like it. I don't enjoy these needler sculpts. Not gonna lie. The needles are more like little shark fins, so you want like the effect of like the spikes. But then you don't want it to look like there's shark fins all over it, but there's definitely shark fins, so it's like almost kind of like a dry brushing along the top, like sideways, just trying to catch the whole top surface. I don't like it. Yeah, I might look into that. I haven't really like dove into the board game side of things a whole lot. Honestly, as far as war games go, Star Wars Legion was the first war game, tabletop game I'd ever played, and that just led me to what came after that. I think I bought Bolt Action, but I never played it. I think after that I bought the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, like starter stuff. That was pretty interesting, actually. I just wish everything wasn't so expensive. Honestly, you guys have watched me play most of the stuff for the first time. Other than Legion and Call to Arms. Warcrow we did for the first time on the channel. Age of Sigmar we did for the first time on the channel. Now, I can't convince anybody else to play those things, but I thought the models themselves were cool enough with the Age of Sigmar stuff, and then with 4th edition refresh coming out, I figured it would be it'd be worth a shot to try to get into it. And it seems interesting enough, which is why I bought these guys off eBay, because buying them outright are like $50 a piece, and I'm not paying that on eBay because people have extra sprues. They're like $17. So, which, while we're still waiting on this dry, it's kind of almost there. Do y'all want me to paint this on stream, or does anybody care? Because this, I feel like, is, I don't even know where to start with this, but we can try to do it on stream. I don't have any of the other models here, but I don't paint them in the traditional like shiny pristine style that these guys are typically done in. I do kind of like an old, worn, grimdark aesthetic for the Stormcast. Yeah, I don't have them up here, but if you just if you're curious of the style of them, the live stream we did playing Age of Sigmar for the first time, obviously use the Stormcast models that this will be done in. I think he's going to be gold, and I was going to do blue for the soft goods, but blue and gold? I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, his armor is going to be an issue because a lot of the way that I paint this armor is dry brushing, and I can't really get to a lot of his armor. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I don't know. Some people enjoy the learning and feeling out process of that kind of thing. So maybe we'll do it on stream. It's like almost dry, but there's just a couple creases that are wet, and I really don't want to get that stuck in something and drag it across. Now, you would think this guy's visor would be purple whenever I get to that point. A gold could also work, but then I've got silver, blue, gold, orange, red, orange, green. I mean, I guess another gold wouldn't hurt, but a good bright neon-y type purple could also work. I just feel like it's going to disappear a little too much. Make it pink. It's bright pink. Yeah, I tried to pace myself with what I was painting when, so I didn't have to just sit here and wait for something to dry, but I guess I messed that up. Something that I can do. Let's see. No, yeah, no, it's 25 minutes. I was gonna say we could watch that that fan film, which apparently I have watched some of it. I have some watch time on it, but I don't think we need to watch a 5-minute thing. Wait a second. Maybe we could do that. I don't know. Maybe well, tomorrow's probably going to be busy. Tuesday. Wednesday, if y'all are interested, we could do a little baby react stream and watch that Halo Reach fan edit thing by Sodas and the Republic Commando fan film. If you guys are interested, it doesn't really fit anywhere else as far as like painting or the wargaming stuff, but we could do that if you don't want. I'm down to do just about anything, especially if there's even literally one person that cares enough to want it. So, okay, I think this is dry enough. Oh, that might be something then. Well, I don't think I have anything going on Wednesday. So we could maybe I'll aim to do that Wednesday at the same time. So like 4:15, 4:30 or so. And we can just hang out and watch a couple things. There's things people want to watch or whatever, and we can just have a chill sit for like an hour or so. And again, I think there's not going to be any tabletop gaming stuff this Thursday like I've been doing with Thanksgiving and everything. But we'll try to do it on Saturday. A tentative Saturday. If I do it, it'll be on Saturday. I don't know of anything that we have going on Saturday for like a battle report stream, but we'll see. All that stuff will be scheduled, so it'll show up on the channel at some point. Got much on my brush here. Talk about mistakes made while painting. Dry brushing is one of them. I have a hard time accurately telling, apparently, if I've got enough, too little, too much left on my brush. Hey, what? Wish this camera was like an inch lower so I could see it better, but make do with what I got as far as cameras go. Something I want to sort out in the game room once I'm back in there is for doing specifically the Legion stuff. The camera angles that we have are fine, but they could definitely be improved upon. I was hoping there'd be some Black Friday deals that I could take advantage of, but not looking that way. Okay. I think let's quickly hit this. Undersuit. Which also I am putting these in different spots, even though they're the same colors, because again, once they start to settle on, I've got a million spots. It's just easier to start with a new spot. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed as far as the Black Friday sales go for hobby stuff. Paint stuff specifically. Like the army painter stuff, was kind of being teased that their deals were going to go live, and I think they went live today or yesterday or something. And like on their website, it's like 4 things or something. And specifically, again, I'm looking for a good Fanatic paint set, and they only had 1 set, but their prices on their website are like significantly higher than on Amazon. So the deal seems even less like appealing because it's a discount that's already not like a huge discount on a price that's already higher than if I were just to buy it off Amazon, which I think there were some on Amazon for like the army painter stuff too, but nothing that would warrant me spending more money on something. But the microphones, considering I wanted new ones, and these were on a pretty good deal, so if nothing else, my Black Friday was a success in that regard. It's not even something I was really thinking about either until it just crossed my mind, and I was like, oh wait, let's look these up, and they were on a Black Friday sale. So for some reason, talking about the microphones, it wasn't as obvious how questionable they sounded in this setting on this computer, but like once I'm downstairs in the game room and on my laptop, the microphone just didn't sound as good, even with all the same filtering and settings and stuff. Maybe it was the bigger room having, I don't know what it was. Honestly, I am not I have an airbrush, and I bought a nice airbrush. There's a lot of people that prime with an airbrush. I just can't be bothered to clean the airbrush all that often. I just use Rust-Oleum primer. So like this guy is primed. Now, something obviously you have to be very careful with, but like this guy, just flat black Rust-Oleum primer from Walmart. And that does everything I need it to do. But most of these models are not exactly in the most paint-friendly plastics and things, so I would definitely go spend $6 and pick up at least a can of some Rust-Oleum primer. Make your life a little easier. Just, again, if you don't have a lot of experience with spray paint, be careful with it, because it builds up pretty quick. But if you want to be an airbrush enthusiast, there are plenty of airbrush primers. I think there's even brush-on primers if you don't want to deal with spraying anything. I think there are brush-on primers, but obviously it's trying to get a smooth base coat of primer to work off of. Easier spraying it. So again, these guys were primed black with that Rust-Oleum, and then I came in and airbrushed white from above just to get that kind of gradient. But to be honest, most of that gradient, short of maybe on the underside of the arms, isn't really all too obvious. Like the bottom of the needler, you can see it's white, and then still black on the bottom, so you get that kind of shadow along the bottom and a little bit up on the inside, so that's not really even all that important. So you could, if you were going to use speed paints, you could just prime the model white, which when I want to do that, I will just use the flat white Rust-Oleum white primer. And just throw on your speed paints or your contrast paint straight over that. It works just fine. I think actually these commandos were just Rust-Oleum flat white primed. I don't think they were zenithal or anything. And then I think I used holy white speed paint, which is more of like a gray. It's not good white. And then I just did a lot of white dry brushing over it to bring it back to that white. And that was about all I did for the white armor on the commandos. So, depending on what you're painting with, I would just grab a can of white and black Rust-Oleum primer. And if you're getting into painting, I would definitely just stick with the cans and just get used to them. I wouldn't deal with the headache of an airbrush early on. I had an airbrush from doing like cosplay armors and stuff like that. So I already had an airbrush, a not good one, but I had an airbrush when I moved into this. So I've used it a little bit here and there for things. The Rancor painting stream that's on the channel was kind of an experiment with painting the majority of it with an airbrush. Because people swear by airbrushes, but I've had a difficult time finding kind of a good video talking about the real applications of an airbrush other than like priming something or zenithaling something. So airbrush is a tool once you know how to use it, but it is certainly more of a headache, I think, early on than it's worth. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit last week, talking about the difference between like speed paints, acrylics, whatever. But especially if you're getting into painting, it just kind of depends on, are you a painting enthusiast, or are you a I just want to play the damn game enthusiast? Because if you just want to play the game and get it to a good standard pretty quick, speed paints are definitely your friend. Speed paints, contrast paints, it's all the same thing. But if you want to paint for the sake of painting, you can just start with regular old acrylics and go through the process. But I was going somewhere with that, and my brain just decided it had enough of that thought. So I don't really remember where I was going with that, but it was going to be something. So you just make up what you want from that statement. And shoulders, elbows, thighs, and feet. Okay, what I'm gonna do with this visor is re-base coat it with white, at least mostly. And then I'm gonna put this pink speed paint over it. If I go with the pink, I think I'm gonna go with the pink. So this is a regular. Got a little messy with my shaky hand. Trying to control my hand, but settled a little bit, but I don't know if it's related or not, but I broke my collarbone mountain biking a couple years ago, and I was wholly convinced that I did something to my wrist, because it's my right wrist, right collarbone, and I x-rayed it and it wasn't anything, but ever since then my wrist has absolutely hurt more than it did. So I don't know if I did anything to it or not, but it goes through phases. Just taking a little bit of this speed paint, just trying to clean up this bottom edge. And we're gonna grab a little bit of this white and a little bit. Good. All right, now we have to decide on a color. I don't want to do yellow because that makes me think of basketball, which is also part of why I don't want to do gold. I do. I've already got blue. This bronze color, but I don't have any color to back it up with after it gets clear coated. Well, we might just stick with the pink plan. Keep it in the purple family. Which also, I can't use that paint shaker, paint stirrer, and look at my audio. So if you hear that little vortex mixer, I apologize. It sounds kind of loud. Is another color I have not used. partially my fault because I want to wait for that to dry. So it's being a little temperamental, but okay, we can work. Trying to put a tiny little bit of a lighter ink over top of that. Blend a little bit of that back. Speed paint, which is a interesting enough visor color for little old me. So this dude is as done as I think he's gonna be on stream, and I will paint this needler when I feel like it, which is not currently because I don't enjoy painting the needlers. So now we've got all of it painted. We've got our elites nice and done. We've got our red fellas. Nice and done. Got our blues. All with the traditional blue gold, red gold. Then we've got a random squad. Really like that blue visor. This is actually what my guy looked like in Halo Reach when I opened it, so that's why this guy ended up yellow and gray. I painted this visor a little bit more like by hand, I guess, with some intentional layering, and it came out okay. Don't really like the color of this guy, but I really like the color of his visor. Silver linings. I think this dude came out really nice, actually, especially that little highlight on the visor. And an orange for some reason. I really like that visor color, that neon pink. Nice. Okay. I think that is a wrap on the Halo Flashpoint painting. In hindsight, I kind of wish I had painted the red and blue guys on stream, because that's probably going to be the most common scheme, and they are incredibly easy to paint to a decent enough standard. But for these, I follow the exact same as you just watched me do for these guys. It's just all one color. So honestly, with like the blue, yeah, I did. Okay, so I basically just quickly grabbed the blue, covered all the armor. It was pretty sloppy about it, so like it spilled over into where the black was going. and it's fine. If you look super, super close, you might be able to find like where you could see a hint of that color up under that speed paint. But with the time you save, you just slather that speed paint all over it, no oil, white dry brush, and then just hit the suit with black speed paint, and that was it. Even all of these guys, I just used this metallic gold speed paint for their visors. So, like the red and the blue guys were super, super easy and quick to do once I figured out a quick and easy way to do it. So I kind of wish I'd done those on stream, because I feel like that's going to be probably one of the more common things. Zombie, yes, I do. So my preferred clear coat for most things are... Stop snorting. Is the Krylon. It's like an art, like a canvas matte, like a Krylon art matte clear coat. That's my go-to matte clear, so all the Spartans are getting cleared with that. And then I just have to go back in and touch up some of the metallic stuff. The elites got hit with a Rust-Oleum matte clear, which I use for some things, because as you can see, these are kind of shiny. They have like a little bit of a sheen to it. The Rust-Oleum matte clear is definitely not as matte as you would want sometimes. So it just depends. But yeah, I use the Krylon art like matte clear coat. Like it's a tiny bit more expensive than like a regular spray paint, but I like it the best. From what I've seen, it's been the most matte of the clear coats that I've used. Something I actually want to try. I don't know. I'm not going to touch it because I like this the way that it is. But I did buy this gloss varnish. I was mainly curious about putting this on the Rancor that I painted, like some specific things that I want glossy, being able just to brush this onto it like an eyeball, for example, on the Rancor. I haven't used that yet though, so I don't know. Some things, depending, I don't. So like the Stormcast that I painted. All right, Wyatt, thanks for hanging out for God knows how long. I appreciate you. The Stormcast that I did, because they were all dry brushed and metallic and just the nature of how they were painted, I didn't clear coat them. And eventually they might wear away and stuff, but I don't see me playing it enough for that to really matter. But most everything that I paint, unless it is heavily metallic, gets a matte clear. Yeah, I haven't tried it, so I can't say anything about it. I've never even read anything about it, so I have zero thoughts on how well that'd work. I just saw it and I was like, I'm gonna buy this. So, but like for Warcrow, all of my Northern Tribe orcs got a clear coat, I think, but none of the Hegemony people did because they had so much metallic on them. Now you could paint everything else and clear coat them and then just metallic afterwards, which is probably a better option, but I'm not worried about it. It just depends. But yeah. Any questions or thoughts before I give you the ending spiel and get out of here? Finally clean up my desk and get all this put away. All right. It's like y'all are all squared away. Again, there's not going to be any tabletop battle report type stream going on Thursday with Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to all you guys that partake. We will probably do a tabletop stream on Saturday, tentatively, and we'll do a little bit of a watch along react type thing for some fan films that y'all were talking about Wednesday, I think, and we'll shoot to do that around 4:30ish. So if you want to join for that, that'll be then potentially battle report Saturday. I still need to get together my stuff for the Halo Flashpoint first impressions review type thing, but that's going to be it. I appreciate y'all hanging out for this, what ended up being like 2.5 hours. Really, truly, I do mean that. I appreciate y'all being here. It adds a lot for me. So hopefully you get any sort of anything from this, but that's going to be it. All right. I appreciate you guys being here. Be safe. Have a good one.